Bunch of audio nerds hanging
Sorry, yeah.
out today. So, yo, this is Pirate Utopia episode, not episode, but part 20. And we're considering ending this season right here with Mr. David Atwood, who I'm super stoked to introduce to Aaron because Aaron is a kick-ass DJ and producer and rad dude and somebody I've gigged with quite a bit on like just like a professional AV level, but we always kept it light and knew we were super creative and hyped and yeah, he's just good people. And then Dave is somebody that I met I was gonna say last summer, but it's been like 2 summers because of COVID. And
No.
yeah, Dave was one of those people that like I saw in the industry and you like look back and you're like, oh damn, that was me, huh? When I was and he was the one that was throwing the dubstep sets and like he would DJ late at night and he would DJ at 5 in the morning at some shit and it was just like, all right, this kid is getting after it. And yeah, man, I'm just stoked to connect you guys and also share, some insights from Dave and like what you guys are doing now.
Awesome. Yeah. I
So
don't know if, yeah.
yeah, I just want that's like a rough intro for Aaron, and then like why don't you introduce yourself about like where you're from and what got you kind of started on music or like at least taking it to the level or taking it to a level of seriousness that you have.
Cool. Yeah. My name is David Atwood. My producer DJ name has become Mr. Atwood. And it's changed over the course of a couple of years, but that's definitely what I've landed on and have been like promoting myself as for the past, like, I guess like year and a half now. Um, yeah, but I guess like my journey into like DJing and the music industry kind of started I mean, it really started from like getting a MacBook when I was like 14 and just like messing around with like GarageBand, uh, and just like loving to like mess with audio and make weird noises or like record noises and affect those to become weird. I didn't really know how to do like sound design, of course, then, but uh, yeah, so I was doing that, and then I really loved math in like high school, and I wanted to be a math teacher. Um, but I did a songwriting, like music production class kind of thing, and that was my junior year of high school. And then ever since then, it was just like, no, this is what I love. Like this is my passion. Like making a remix. The first song I did was "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees. Um, that was like 2010 or something like that. Um,
Wait, your
and
first
then
track was 10 years ago?
yeah, I think so. Little over.
Old Dave.
um yeah, I mean, to kind of sum it up like a little bit to how it's going now, but um I got into DJing after that because uh my one of my professors in like community college like put me in touch with this DJ, and he was like getting G-Shock watches. Like that's kind of like why they wanted me to. They were like, yeah, look how cool this guy is, like he gets G-Shock watches for DJing and stuff, like he's sponsored. But I just loved the idea of like mixing songs together. Like I was just like, it's so cool that you can like take the bass of one song and like mix it with like the vocals of another song, and then like maybe the hi-hats of the original or whatever. um that's really what kept me in it. And yeah, I DJ'd like house parties at my house. My parents were super chill, and we had like pretty nice ragers or whatever you want to call them. Uh, and yeah, so then I really took things seriously. Um, in 2018, when we met at Omega, that was when I was like, I really want to produce, and I want to take the DJing to an actual like professional level, like a career move, and not just um, something that I would do with like my friends and house parties. Um, and just also Mr. Atwood came from when I was in like middle school. My sixth grade teacher used to call me Mr. Atwood, and like throughout my college career and high school career, like Mr. Atwood was just like what teachers would call me, and I never knew why. But so that's definitely where that came from.
Wait, isn't it your last name?
Well, yeah, but like why? Like I'm like 13, and they're like Mr. Atwood, and I'm like, why is it so serious?
Uh,
Uh, I may have been a pretty serious kid though. That could have been what it was. Like,
I had a teacher. He was always like Mr. Berger, and yeah, definitely like eighth grade. Don't think I qualified as a Mister yet.
yeah. So
People have been calling me
that's
Mister. Yeah, like that's just the normal Mister thing. I don't know, but I mean, it's nice because there's like, if you can like long. I think what you're saying though is were your friends also calling you Mister Atwood too? Like
no.
no, oh, just him. Oh, so you just
It was like just teachers. I was like, okay. It was interesting.
Well, so
Yeah.
I want
that
to
is.
like. Thank you for the brief Wikipedia version of David's journey into music. But like, I want to, if I can, kind of nudge the conversation towards Aaron a bit. Like, I think on our first episode, or maybe it was our second one, we had our buddy Ian on, who's a glassblower, and we were going on about like the different levels of like taking your art or creative endeavor like seriously or whatever. So like, um, I think at that point, Aaron was feeling like, I want to be full time music, but I'm having a hard time embracing that or believing that it's possible. And like, I think even just through this podcast, like he's started to shift and been like, okay, I'm making music all the time, and where I'm making money in all these different ways that support my life. But number one, I'm making music, and then like, I don't know if you're just like, as Mr. Atwood, like, yeah, I'm gung ho, I'm gonna do this, I'm getting it, or if you feel like at one of those places where you're like, I know where I want to be, but I'm not there yet, and then
Hmm.
like, if Aaron I mean, I know Aaron just because he's like talked so much on the podcast about like doing workshops with different producers and like there's been all these like steps he's made along the way to like pull himself along that ladder. And so like I don't know if like you could like give some sort of like insight or like steer what kind of things helped you like turn that corner a bit there, Aaron.
I mean, yeah, like it was more. I think at the time it was just I was already making. I've already been kind of, I guess, full time for a while, for like years now. But it's like just kind of like figuring out how to like run music as a business, run it as like, because I think a lot of us grow up with very romanticized ideas of what being a professional musician is, especially if you are doing like original music and you're not just like um you're not like, oh, I'm an accordion player, so yeah, I book session gigs as an accordion player or whatever. But
Right.
like if you're creating yourself as a brand and putting it out there, and that is like I kind of had to learn all about that like after I graduated college, and so that's just kind of been my slow journey on figuring that out. But I've been for a while kind of like wanting to be full time and thinking that I can get there somehow. I don't know exactly. Or I guess the idea is like that I make most of my money from music was like the idea. And I think I've started to leave that behind, especially as like, the more like exploration I do, the more I start to realize that I think there are certain people who are just about music. Like that's all they really want to do. And I think I started to learn that there's other things that excite me because I don't think, I've never been the most technical player, and I wonder if you might, whatever. I'm curious what parts of this you might identify with, Dave. But like, even though I've studied music my whole life, I've never been super, super technical about it. I've always cared more about like the culture, the metaphysical parts of it, and the weirdness. And so I kind of glom onto that. But I'm not like a technical innovator where I just get so deep into like the nuances of how to like what is synthesis really, and then if I try this and I put it through these things, and I've had to really learn that over the course of my career. But I've always been thinking about what is music's larger role, and not that other musicians don't, but I think that it's definitely like, a lot of people will be more focused on the technical parts of it, and then other people focus on the different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious. So like to that end, like here's a leading question, Dave, would be like, what would you say encapsulates like your brand of music? Like not just genre, but like what else sets you apart from other people in your same genre?
Yeah, and that's a awesome question, and I love exactly what you're saying, like just about like the technical versus like the other stuff. Um, and to be totally honest, I mean, like currently I've only really released like one actual song back in like April of last year. Um, but what I'm seeing like evolving out of my music, something that I really like saw last night when I was working on a project, is like I love dubstep and like really kind of just like dance your ass off, like bass music, um, like really driving rhythms, really driving like yeah, just like really interesting like drops and stuff. But what I feel like is really becoming part of my sound, which has like always been a huge part of what I wanted, is like the sound design, not just during the drop. And so what I mean about that, like also really creating like um, an emotional, I mean, and this is what every musician probably strives for, I'm assuming, but like an emotional response and a really like kind of roller coaster of an emotion that then leads you to the drop. And that's when you're like, really going crazy and enjoying yourself and, you know, dancing your heart out. Um, and then going back into the other parts of the like the verse or whatever you want to call it. um it like allows you to come down a little bit and then like, but also yeah, within that just be flowing and really vibing with the music there. um there hasn't really been like a um I think a lot of people in my genre will find a sound, like they'll make their own sound, like they'll design a noise, and then like that'll be their thing, which I haven't been able to do or haven't really set down to do yet. But um I'm focusing on like production quality as well as like uh just like the cleanliness and just like the experience of the listener first, I think.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I think there's a lot, I started like I think just towards the end of last year doing Ill Gates like dojo thing. Have you looked into
Nice.
that?
Yeah, I've been in the dojo like Facebook for a long time. I love their like Thursday tune drops and stuff, but
Uh-huh.
I haven't really like taken any of the workshops or anything. Is
Dude,
that what
I
you're doing?
think it's super worth it. I
Wow.
like I for me like I kind of like kick myself because for the longest time, like as I was growing as a producer, um, like I kind of had this idea that I'll just kind of figure it out on my own, and I never really wanted to like pay for any lessons. And it was like I took Mr. Bill's course for a couple months. I just paid
Cool.
like for that, and it was like night and day. Just like the level that over a month, I just got so much better. And then I started taking what I think the real value of the Ill Gates thing is that if you pay for the dojo, you get like a one-on-one session like a month. And so
Wow.
in addition, like there's tutorials and he has good tutorials, but you could find good tutorials anywhere,
Mhm.
on YouTube and whatnot. But like something about getting a person who is really intent on your track and is willing to, because like it's so hard to find good feedback. Like that's really
Definitely.
what you need, someone who's gonna give you raw, like they'll give you like, hey, you got some harshness over here at the 5K range, you need to bring the kicks up 2 dB, but also you need someone who's willing to be like, so what are you trying to say with this song, like where are you going with it, and not in a judgmental way. But usually you show shit to your friends and stuff, they're like, oh, this is cool, or yeah, it's you know, they give you, so it sounds like a soundtrack, you know, that's the first thing when I remember starting to make like drops. It's like, oh, it's really chill. So you're like, that's not what I was hoping it would make you, you know, shit your pants. Didn't think it was a chill song, but you know, but like it's good to get someone who knows what they're doing and is willing to kind of help you along there. But the reason I brought it up was because he talks about like purple cow sounds, or like, and what that references like Seth Godin, like purple cow is like a concept of what makes you really stand out. And so I think, you know, a big part of, like, I think why my process, another reason why it's taken me so long and I'm just now starting to figure it out, is really understanding what you want to say beyond like, you know, the obvious things. Because it's like what you were saying, you know, everyone wants to manipulate emotion with like the music, but it's like as you start to go, like what types of emotions, you know, some people really want to make music that's about negative emotions like sadness, heartbreak, anger, rawness. Other people want to make really uplifting, you know, transcendent things. And so it's like as you do that, and I think that plays into the ultimately the kind of sound that you might find, that like what you're saying, a lot of dubstep people, some people, it's a process. They're like, I found this one synth and I just want to make only sounds with this one synth, you know, and that gives them their edge, and or whatever, or a process, you know. So yeah, I'm curious, like, because so this would be a question, is like, one of the guys mentioned you should find 3 things that separate you. So for instance, one of your things is dubstep, you know. Okay, well, there's a million dubstep DJs. So what's another thing for him? He had like dubstep, pop punk, and spirituality. So those are his 3 things. So at the intersection of those 3 things, he found his own weird little niche. And I'm curious, like, you know, if you were to just, I'd put you on the spot, you know, what would your 3 things be?
Yeah, and I think I like you. That was a great question because it was like it enabled me to find the right word, I think, also. But yeah, I guess I want to start with like the idea behind my logo a little bit, and just like my branding that I had done last year. Because I know that like everything that people do now needs to have like a thought process, and needs like it, or maybe it could to like, allow you to do more. So um I made like a logo which was 3 trees. My last name is Atwood, so you know,
Nice.
at the woods. So the whole idea behind that was like, yeah, to incorporate a lot of like forestry maybe into my visuals eventually, uh and like really utilize the non, yeah, and it's like a little bit weird where like dubstep tends to have that more industrial or like mechanical noises, but yeah, trying to then like pair that with the woodsy kind of stuff, or the, you know, the trees. So you'll also, what, you know, a lot of the track names will also have to do with trees and stuff like that. But yeah, so the emotion that I thought of when you were saying that was um like releasing just feelings or emotions, things that maybe are like trapped and are just not so easy to even know that we're holding on to. And so like, yeah, I'm utilizing like ethereal, like, you know, ethereal melodies, or like pads that are really like swelling, and but also with like bass tones that maybe hit you in certain ways to like allow for things to come out. um and I can't think of a third one, but
And that's the thing, is like, I'm only just now getting to it, and that's not, definitely not a thing that you would just like figure out. But it's like, I think as your process, you know, like as you start to um just make more and more tracks, it's almost like, I feel like the biggest number one thing that's helped me over the past like few years is really just finishing tracks, like not starting or making, but like, you know, it's like a numbers game. Like you get good tracks not by working on them, the amount, like not the amount of hours you work on it, but like by the amount of tracks that you finish. And even if they're not all good, it's like you learn something from each one, and by finishing them, it's like it communicates something to your brain that's like, oh yeah, you can make a track that's just as good as any of your favorite producers, you know, like in its own way. And so it's just like, and you like through that process of creation, you start to figure out what it is, because you're like, well, I'm going to make a track that sounds like X producer. I'm going to sound like, you know, I'm going to make some trap, I'm going to make some house, I'm going to make some of this. And then you learn like, oh, well, that's cool, maybe I can incorporate this type of sound into my sound, you know, and slowly find it. But
Yeah.
And or what were we going to say?
I mean, that might be a dojo concept. The idea, like, it's probably not just an L Gates thing, but the idea of like finishing the tracks is definitely something that like allowed me to release my track last year. Like that was what came out of that. It was like I just need to finish something, and that's actually what it was. So yeah, definitely, totally agree with that.
Was that on Spotify? Did you kind of put it out everywhere?
Yeah, I used like DistroKid. I was just like, I'm gonna go all out, just put it
Yeah.
on everywhere. But yeah,
I started doing that. Yeah, for the first time last year too. It's
nice.
great that it's like now you don't need a fucking shitty label to like, you know, give you a pass to just put your shit out there and start finding an audience, because finding labels is hard. You know, everyone wants to get on a label. It's really like, I feel like everyone wants to get on a label so that they can pass off some of the work of like being a career musician or whatever, or building your own brand. But
Yeah,
it's like that's I'm starting to learn that that's what the job is, you know. Like there's a million talented producers out there, but the real job is like cultivating the audience, you know. I'm pretty bad at social media. I'm not. I'm curious as to how you relate to it, but like I just forget about it. I forget to do things. I have to like push myself to get on there and like make posts and like and interact. And I've started to try to change my attitude towards it as more like tending a garden. And the garden will yield things. It yields like new connections with new fans or new artists that I can collaborate with, like this. You know, it's like now we have a connection. So it's like I could send you music, you could send me music, or like if you're playing if I'm in your city, you know, it's like, hey, I know cool people, you could collaborate, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
And so like it's learning to treat social media, or you know, the marketing game, which is usually the first thing that DJs and producers complain about. You know, it's like learning to find how do we incorporate that into our practice as a creative person. And overall, you know, through that you also figure out, because like I always struggle with this, like they say you want to figure out who you're serving, like who's your audience.
Mhm.
I've never been able to like answer that in a cohesive, like a very clear way. It's always been like, I don't know, people who like weird trippy music, you know, like, but it's really not, you know, that's not a good answer. It's like figuring out like really, but who in there is your audience? And I don't think, you know, I don't know if anyone ever really figures it out. But yeah, so that's kind of just been like, you know, trying to own that in and focus on it. But yeah, I'm curious what you relate to the marketing side of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But hold on,
Sorry.
we just want to say what up to Chris.
Oh, what up, Chris?
Chris Cap.
Chris.
What's up, y'all? How's it
How's it
going?
Chris
Good.
is another. This is like a total audio.
I'm loving it right now.
Yeah, audio
Yeah,
geeks.
right
AT 2020 or 4040? You got the 2035? What you got there?
Oh yeah, 2020.
Oh, yeah, 2020.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah.
Actually, Aaron just got one of those the other day.
I'm borrowing it from Chris.
Nice.
It's set up over there in my little closet vocal booth.
Yeah, my brother got this for me when I was 17, 10 years ago.
So just to bring Chris up to speed a little bit, I mean, we're touching right now on like in social media how that plays into it, and we're on the edge of our seat waiting for Dave's response. But the last kind of like the last concept we were talking about, I think is really cool and important, and I don't know that it's like it's never necessarily set in stone using like 3 different things like that. But it can apply to cooking. It could apply to art. It can apply to so many different things. Like even on Pirate Utopia, we've applied it here. And it's like, we want to talk about music or art, spirituality, and cryptocurrency. And it's like, there is not a single podcast out there talking about those 3 things, you know? And then finding that with your music, you know, I constantly look at some of my art and it's like, I like those paintings, but the paintings I really like are the ones that's like a landscape with graffiti plus some visionary psychedelic shit. that's kind of unique. Whereas some of my other ones are like, I've seen a landscape before, or I've seen some graffiti art. It's cool, but you start mixing it all up, and you're just like, damn, never seen anything like that, you know. And then, not to say that it's always going to be good, but it's definitely like a little bit of like a workflow that's like, I don't know what to do. You know, can kind of like, I don't know, like a thought experiment or something.
Yeah, and I mean, you're really, I think you're speaking to like also the fusion of like the things that we also just enjoy separately sometimes. Like that's definitely what like brought me to music. Like a big thing was also part of that was like yeah, trying to incorporate like the chill music with the like rage dubstep. Um yeah, I don't want to forget to
Well,
answer the
like,
question as
yeah,
well.
how are you using social media now? Do you like it? Are you struggling with it?
Cool. Yeah, so um last year was it was a, you know, it was a I was super motivated, I guess like, you know, more towards the end of 2019, coming out of Omega and moving to Brooklyn. So in all of my areas I was just like, I'm just gonna do it, like not thinking about it. So yeah, I took um my song and like duplicated it and started making like promotional content just from the song. I started utilizing like visualizers, really just copying what other people do, and that's what they say to kind of do in social media. But um, that was like the only time that I've had success in like really putting myself into social media. So definitely on the same page as you, Aaron. I like totally forget about it, and I just don't really enjoy it that much. Like I'd rather connect like this. Like I like seeing people's faces and I like hearing their voices. And I mean, maybe I've been told recently that I'm more of like an auditory person, which I mean that has some value to it. But so social media, I mean, yeah, there are some auditory based ones, but most of them are like purely visual, especially like Instagram. So my like content creation side of myself, like the visual art, is just not really there. Um, so yeah, I haven't had a great relationship with social media, but uh, I also feel, and we don't, you know, we can decide, you can let me know how much you want to go into it, but I feel that TikTok has really done some crazy things to social media and like really increased a lot of value to that in some way.
Yeah, let's go down that road.
Yeah, let's definitely go down that road. I'm into
I
that.
like TikTok. I hated on it for a while, but I gotta say, it's fucking entertaining as shit. Like,
Yeah, I recently saw your post, like it was reposted on Instagram, but I'm definitely gonna follow you. And I've been seeing it as, yeah, as like it just feels a little bit more my style. And I mean, I didn't click with Vine. I didn't even have a cell phone when Vine was big. Um, but yeah, I mean, seeing all these young people on there, and there's so much music, which is also like a huge part of why I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
I do agree, yeah, because I feel like it's so awkward for musicians on Instagram. You know, like you go to some people and they clearly just have a lot because they're famous already, but their Instagram is just like show, you know, like show posters, and it's like totally not interesting, you know, or cool, or I don't know. It's just this weird. It's a weird thing where you have to create this like style or brand for your thing that's completely divorced from what you spend most of your time like thinking about and doing. Not
Mhm.
that there's anything wrong with that, but I do find like what you were saying earlier was making me think like, what if there's like, you know, a, a, it's like we're kind of always being forced to conform to the limits of the technology that that is dominating. You know, for instance, pop songs are 3 minutes long because when they first came out with the single with the record, that's the longest amount of music you could put on one side of it. So you can't write a song that's longer than that. So we had to, you know, okay, we'll see what
Right.
you can do with 3 minutes. And then that just became standard. And now it's stuck around because we got used to it. But, you know, and it's just everything is like that. And so it's like, you know, I'm curious, like, what would you say are like some of the benefits that TikTok is offering musicians as opposed to maybe like some of the other platforms?
Yeah. Um, I mean, the pairing of the visual and the audio is definitely a huge thing. But also, yeah, because it has all these like younger people on there, and I think it's still like it's definitely becoming more mainstream, and like there's a lot more just like advertisements and like more famous people on there, but it's still like a breeding ground for all of these underground artists. There's people that are just like writing lyrics, and then someone else is like writing the other stuff. um so it's like it just seems like a super collaboration of underground artists or like people that are trying to rise up. um I've posted a couple of of me making music on there, but I'd really like to start like actually creating content for TikTok. um yeah, for that reason.
Careful.
What like what kind of stuff are you thinking about like for TikTok? Like you know, are you thinking of like because I always one thing I wanted to do and I was doing it for a while with Instagram was like I really like dancing, and so I was like, well, what if I made a beat?
You
Because I was
do.
doing this thing where I'd post a beat a day, and it'd
Nice.
be like, well, what if I made a beat and then I just did like a little dance for it? But the thing is that like how do you with TikTok, you have to like distribute it, or you can't just like, post your own song to TikTok. It's got to be somehow connected to like Spotify or something. I'm curious, what are you thinking? What ways are you thinking of like utilizing TikTok that way?
I guess I'm not totally sure. I mean, like so far I've just been like recording, like my screen and stuff. So like they're seeing like the production process a little bit. Um, but I, um, yeah, I guess I don't really know like how the audio stuff works. I thought you can just kind of like put whatever you want on there and do it.
Maybe you can. I feel
I
like
don't
such an
know.
old person. Like
No,
the
same.
TikToker does the.
I mean, there's got to be some sort of easy third-party publishing at this point. I mean, post it to SoundCloud or something, and that gives you some backing. I don't know. I'm just using names,
Yeah.
but there's got to be something like that.
It just takes a couple days, but like for instance,
Right.
I have the SoundCloud Pro. What do you call
Right.
it? Uh,
Go
Yeah, like so
or
the distribution,
yeah.
SoundCloud distribution thing, which is like their version of DistroKid. And
Right.
it's like $30 a year, but you basically can just create campaigns and do all the same things. I don't know exactly how DistroKid works, but it will distribute your music to Instagram and TikTok so that you can like I can go now and find some of my old tracks on there and do choreos or whatever I want to my own songs. But I don't it's just a time thing. It's I guess which is maybe fine. Maybe you plan out a little bit in advance. It's not like I just made this beat an hour ago. Check it out, whatever. But I don't know. They might get to that point.
to
I see
to
what you're sorry.
to chime in for TikTok a little bit though, like it does take a second to learn it, but there's like this whole little video editing system built into it, and then it's also synced with Apple Music, Spotify, and all these other platforms. So like if you want to add your friend's track to it, it just automatically tags their Spotify. So I mean, it's definitely built for like cross pollinating all of these already social media networks that exist. But what was I going to say after that? I had a point there. I think I forgot it.
Well, is
Oh
it
no! What I was going to say is their algorithms. They haven't. I mean, they're probably already owned by Facebook, but they haven't been infected by like how they crack down on those algorithms. Because one of the things that got my attention about TikTok was like some random like it was just like a random art video I made, but then within a day it had so many views, like hundreds and hundreds of views that any Instagram account I've had, even when I had one with 1,000 followers, supposedly, like the number of impacts on profiles I'd make was so small because that the algorithm just allows you to not like be on a soapbox anymore. They cut you down as low as they can, and then that like the social media like TikTok and these new ones coming out, we have a lot of opportunity being early, even though it's easy to hate on the new thing. If you're early, it's like you have all of this, you can get all of these people's attention, or at least somebody listening to your music or your art that you would have never otherwise got because they're not connected to you in any other way.
Yeah.
It's totally true. I mean, that's like behind the scenes. We've been talking about Clubhouse a lot, and we're trying to figure out our Clubhouse strategy. Have you heard of Clubhouse, David?
Yeah, only because of Elon Musk, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think yeah, that's he's the main driver of attention for it right now. But
Yeah.
it's really interesting because it's like a new kind of social media connection platform. It's basically all around audio. There's no video, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool in a certain way. Um, it's a different kind of thing though, because it's more about like conversation. They're trying to take over the pod or innovate the podcast space, um, which is different than the TikTok space for sure. But it's an interesting avenue depending on the type of artist that you are. You know, like not everyone's trying to be Lil Nas X or like, you know, I think people like I a lot of what I see the success of TikTok musicians is like Megan the Stallion or something where they make a song that's really cool to do a dance to, and then a bunch of people upload videos doing a dance, you know, and not everyone makes that kind of music, but it could, you know, it's like you figure out a certain way, certain kind of video that you could use in that format. But
Well, I mean, like historically, people love dances to songs. Like, being in the audio industry and doing a bunch of live shows is if there's a dance for the song, everybody, even the guys holding up the wall, are dancing the dance. It's a line dance. It's a group dance. The chicken dance. I grew up in New Braunfels, down here in Texas, which is like a German town. So like the hat dance, mein Hut, it has Dreiecken, right? And then there's like this dance to it. If there's a dance, people love it. People love it. Big ups to Megan.
That's true.
Yeah, Megan rocks.
Yeah.
So speaking of dance, I know that Dave has you're one of the founders of the silent disco company Quiet Hours, right? Based out of the Hudson Valley in New York.
Yeah.
So where did that come about? Like, can you give us just like a breakdown on where that started and where it's going right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably bring up Omega like a lot of times. Like everyone that I talk to is like, they think I'm like an advocate for Omega. But yeah, that's where a lot of stuff happened.
Yeah, we're a big fan here on Pirate Utopia for sure.
Cool.
Of Omega.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a huge fan, and yeah, almost everyone that I talk to will become a huge fan. But yeah, so that's where I met a lot of the people that I'm like networking with now and working with now. And that's where Quiet Hours started. Yeah, Quiet Hours is a silent disco company that myself and three of my friends made. I think that was also 2018, like around July or August.
And just for some of the cats who don't know, what's silent disco for us, just real quick?
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Silent disco is you just pretty much like push your audio, push your music. Like the DJ would be pushing the music through a transmitter, a wireless transmitter. The ones that we have run off of a radio frequency channel. So it's not Bluetooth, and it's like a direct line to the wireless headphones. Yeah. So pretty much like that. And then, there'd be like a transmitter like 50 feet away from you. And then also the cool thing is that, yeah, we have 50 headphones that can do this all at once. So we can have up to like 50 people who are all dancing, maybe not really within like that close from each other, who can hear like the same DJ. Secondary to that also, though, is that you can have like multiple transmitters. So we actually have two transmitters. There's capability for a third, where then you can switch like to different DJs on the headset itself and have like a dubstep DJ, like a house DJ, and like a trance or something like that. And then you get your flavors. So that's definitely like the overall idea of silent disco. And yeah, so in 2018, I was sitting in the trailer park, and I don't totally remember exactly how it happened. Like I feel like someone else on the team would have a better visualization, but it really stemmed out of that Omega has this thing called quiet hours where at 10 o'clock there's no more like what's that word, that term?
Noise
Amplified.
ordinance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a noise ordinance for like the neighbors of Omega. And yeah, no more amplified music. You know, maybe like a small speaker, but myself who loves to feel the music and to really like, you know, feel the emotion and stuff like that, like I was talking about earlier, we wanted a way to continue the party. So we took the idea of quiet hours, and then we were just sitting there and yeah, just from people talking to each other. It was Rob, who's on the AV team with me at Omega, that I think I talked to somewhat originally about this. And then we had someone from the maintenance team and someone from the like front desk at the massage therapy place. And they were both just super interested. You know, one of them has already kind of ran his own business doing like surfboards. And then Melissa has become and wanted to kind of get on because she loved the idea. She loves dancing, but then also really runs our whole social media like side of our company, which goes back to what Aaron was saying. I don't have to do that, which is awesome.
Oh, that's a big task.
Yeah, and Melissa does a great job. So we used to hold silent discos at Omega for the people that like the staff that was there. And then after that, we've held silent discos in upstate New York. And that's basically it so far. But what we are doing right now is, because of the pandemic, we are doing like Friday night live streams where we're hosting different DJs or even performance artists. And Melissa's been like booking all those people as well for us. So yeah, that's definitely what we're up to right now, is just these Friday night live streams.
Dude, I have so many harebrained ideas about like silent, how to use like alternate uses of like silent disco headphones. So I don't know if Jesse's mentioned, but so I have like a sort of art project slash business that's been in the works for I don't know how long, but it's sort of picking we're sort of picking up steam. It's definitely bumpy roads, but it's we call them tactiles, and they're these like hexagons that it's basically a modular dance floor that we put transducers on. So it's kind of like a bass floor. You probably heard about it. There's some clubs in Europe that have it, but the floor vibrates with the bass. So you send like bass so you can feel it directly in your body. And so it's really cool. It's like a sub pack, but it's underneath the floor. So you don't need to put anything on. And so one of our markets, we're like, oh yeah, this would be sweet to market this for like, you know, silent discos. Cause that's really the worst part of the silent disco, is just that you don't get the full power of a massive sound system. But it really helps because in some ways, if you can get the good enough audio quality, it's kind of nice to have the headphones, because like you can hear extra details, you know, stereo separation that you usually don't hear live. And then if you feel the bass in your body, you know, that adds an extra component. You still get that power. But so that's one thing we were talking about using. But I just think that the avenue, like the technology is so underutilized, because you know a lot of people use it because it's like, oh, you got the hits, you know, you'll have like rap and R&B on channel 1, we got, you know, like trap on channel B, and then EDM on channel 3 or whatever, which is cool and it's fun and I do enjoy it. But like I think there's like we came up with this like this idea for an event where you use the headphones and you can switch to different channels, but they basically would give you like instructions. So it's, instead of piping music out, it's like, everybody in channel B, go do a thing over there, you know, or like you can like kind of switch up, like direct the crowd in various ways using the different channels. Or like, you know, you go to see an installation in that corner over there, and so when you walk over there, you switch to a different channel and it's synced up with perhaps maybe a projection or I don't know, some other art installation going on. And I thought, like, just beyond like a dance floor, it would be cool to utilize the silent disco headphones as like an art piece in and of themselves. So it's
We
super
use
cool. I don't know. I'm just like, oh yeah, let me tell you about all my crazy ideas. But no, that's super cool. I think there's a lot
we
in
use
there.
that idea in conferences. I mean, there's you know, there's like the translators often, if there's like a translator, instead of having everybody have their own translator right next to them kind of thing, they'll have a translator and just give them an earpiece essentially. And yeah, it's definitely like that. That's a really awesome usage of such. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
Oh no, go for it.
We've yeah, like like getting the headphones, we also like knew that we wanted to not just do silent disco, and like we're trying to figure out the right wording because there's like silent yoga now, there's like silent this and that, but we don't want to really even be branded as one. And yeah, so we've done like one yoga experience, but yeah, like that would be awesome. I would just like maybe think of like, yeah, you can have a group of people doing yoga, and that can be like the blue color, or like the one, channel one. And then yeah, like something else, maybe that's a little bit more like exciting, or not that yoga is not exciting, but um like more high energy, yeah, to then just separate that, and you can really pick and choose. I'm always open to ideas, so I love it. Yeah.
In a museum, at an art installation, yeah, anything like that. That all sounds really good. I mean, effectively, it's a multi-channel radio that probably sounds way better. Or
Yeah.
at least I hope.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that
I don't know if any of you all ever been to the to Alcatraz, like off San Francisco coast has that old jail, Alcatraz jail.
Very
But
close.
they have like a silent disco basically that you put on, and it's old school, super old school, but it's cool. Like you walk through this whole thing, it tells you the story that's kind of timed with your walk, and like just that. I mean, we've had this technology for so long, and to see it go from like, I mean, to see like y'all have this issue like you want to party late past 10, there's other older hippies that are trying to sleep, there's that battle. So to have it be like, come out of like that invention to solve that problem is great. And then like now with the pandemic and like how much more caution everybody's gonna like be proceeding with, I think they're just gonna come into play more. And then same thing with the tactiles project. It's like these were great ideas before. The pandemic made these ideas even better. Like they're gonna come into play more and more, I think, because people are gonna want to be able to be like at the thing, but kind of in their zone, feeling safe. They can communicate if they need to. I mean, we're not gonna be doing shows like we used to. As much as I wish we could, I just don't think that's gonna be the reality. We're gonna potentially have shows again, but they're gonna be smaller. There's gonna be more like separation and definitely more sensitivity about people, in large groups.
Finally, everyone was pretty complaining about it being too big. Well, then cool. Now it gets more intimate. Now it gets like, all right, this is cool. Like the chefs that are doing like the in-home dinners, or like I know a lot of in the country circuit down here in Texas, there's a lot of like acoustic in-home shows, and there's like 10 tickets you can buy, and that's it. And it's super awesome. Everybody always loves it. There's like never any bad reviews. Yeah, there's gonna be smaller stuff for sure, more intimate.
Yeah. And I mean, like to kind of go along with what you were saying, like the idea of being able to just take the headphones off and talk at a normal volume also, I mean, like does reduce a lot of the saliva that comes out of our mouth when we yell in clubs and stuff. So I mean, yeah, you're right. Like people are thinking about like, oh, how gross are bars actually? How crazy are venues? Like what's the the cleaning process? Yeah, and we brought
If any.
yeah, right. We brought like wipes when we did like a Halloween event in upstate, and we wiped down all the headphones, just to be more safe and to be sure that yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that's like the best thing, like that you can just talk, because I hate that. Yeah, the music is so loud and you're having to yell, and so you're like as a singer, it's like I know like my you come home and your voice is sore because you've been screaming all night, and I feel like I get more hearing damage, not as much from the music, but from someone who like who's drunk and is like, hey, blah blah blah, they need to tell you something, and they just like yell right into your ear, and it's like, ah, I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
there's like an etiquette of like, I always like, I plug my ear when they like come up, to like talk to me. I feel like I can hear them better, but it's also like, don't like yell right into the hole, like yell past it, like kind of like a mic,
Right.
you don't want to catch the plosives, like talk like kind of that way. But so it's just such a thing, but it's so nice where you're like, yeah, I'm jamming. Oh, I need to ask my friend a question. Hey, how's it going? You want to go grab a drink real quick? It's just like you don't have to yell at all and be still hype it up.
Right.
So,
Awesome. Health, yeah. Taking care of oneself, making sure you can hear later. For me, that's a big thing. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to hear when I'm older. I sure the hell hope so. But, turning the fader up to 130 decibels at times or whatever in an arena, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to hear that well later. So that's an important thing. So that's really awesome. Yeah, being able to hear stuff still.
I think also on a broader context too, it's like what you were saying earlier, David. It seems like there, and you too, Chris, that there was like my computer's wigging out. That there's a trend towards healthier events, because like, I love staying up late and stuff, but I really don't. The older I get, the more I notice that those effects are really not good for us, to be like staying up late and partying like all the time. It throws me off. And as someone who wants to be productive, like making music, I love staying at the club all night long and going home at like 4 or 5 in the morning. But it's like I'm a piece of shit the next day. I can't make tracks when I'm like spent and tired, and it's like I need to go to bed early and wake up early. It's just my natural rhythm. And I think that like offering like, if you want loud music, like, do it during the daytime, but also like you also can just party. Like we can find alternate venues where like, yeah, there would be a bunch of noise pollution and stuff, but now we can just do it with headphones, and you can control it, so the music's not too loud, and or do different kinds of events that you normally wouldn't do, like a yoga thing, and combining like a dance with yoga, or who knows, meditation and all sorts of crazy stuff. So
Yeah, plug in belt pack. You can even have your own headphones or earbuds.
Yeah, we did that for one of our events, like a wireless mic. We like attached it to the headset. I mean, it would be awesome to do a meditation in Central Park. I think that's like a oxymoron in some way, but that would be dope.
Actually, here's an idea I've wanted to do for a while. Is I wanted to do like ASMR, like live. Like people do live ASMR, but they always do it like right around your head. And I don't know what it is, but to me, I got really into ASMR because I just love the weirdo sounds and textures. But it's almost like what makes it really cool is that it's not real. Is that like it sounds like the sound is going around your head, but there isn't. It's because it's all in your headphones. And so I thought it would be so cool to do like an event where you have someone with like one of those binaural mics, like a head, and they're doing sounds to it, and everybody can hear what that head is hearing because it's transmitting a stereo signal. So it's like you can hear the sounds going around your head, even though you're not even there. You're like somewhere else in the venue, but you still get that kind of stereo trippy image. And so I want to do
spatial
like
awareness.
That's what I mean. We're totally living in a simulation, because it's like you get one of those things going, plus you put on one of these Oculus headsets. It's like you have no idea where you're at.
Yes,
that's true.
We've made it.
Yeah,
So,
at the
there was like a concept that I was introduced to as a young artist, and I was like, for one, just like super bad at drawing and painting, but I loved it. I definitely did. And somehow I got to hang around like Alex Gray and this other dude, Randall, who I just thought was the dopest dude. It would be like if, whoever the guys you were talking about, Il Gates earlier today, or Mr. Bill, or whoever. It's like, imagine knowing somebody that's like rocking it in the scene, and you're like, I can touch you, you're real, I can learn to do this too, So I was definitely like the annoying 19, 20-year-old kid trying to like pick up little bits of pieces of information and seeing how I could you know, become like these people or whatever. But like Randall at least was cool enough that it was just like, look, you don't have, you're never gonna be me today. Like, you know, like there's 15 years, 20 years of life experience difference on us. But what is cool is that you know that you're on the same escalator as me, and we might be on different steps. And Alex is a few more steps way up there, you know, but we're all going the same way at our own rate, you know. And so ever since then, I've just always been like, fuck, like that made me feel so fucking seen for actually who I was, because I was a shitty artist and I wasn't good at drawing, but I really was on this elevator. And it's like that amount of like feeling included, but also nobody giving you like, oh, good job, Jesse, you know, like just being like, that sucks, like try again, but you're still part of the team, was like really uplifting, because it actually taught me and encouraged me to get better. And so like just before we like break from this, and I'm not trying to put anybody on different, you know, in different rooms or on different levels of the escalator, but like, is there something in your journey as like a musician, artist, that right now you think is like, it would be amazing to accomplish this goal, or like play at this particular thing, or accomplish this with the silent disco company? Because like, and I'm just asking that, it's like, for one, obviously I want to see if I can get behind it and support it, but then also too, like what I didn't understand about the escalator concept then is it's just as important to be the person on the last step of the escalator, because you're holding back this mirror for these other people to look back and be like, holy shit, I was just like that, and look at how far I've come. And for me to actually demonstrate that I've learned these things, I need to be able to teach and share to that person, you know, to bring it up to the next person.
Potentially more, you know, attainable, potentially more influential because of that.
Yeah. I mean, like the reason I moved to like New York and like the city area in 2019 was to hopefully get some sort of either like a residency in a like a venue, or even just like the ability to play there. There's one space called like Holo. I don't really know how it's called. It's H0L0. But they're like a really small venue which does like bass music and stuff like that. So that would definitely be like, yeah, like I don't know where, I guess I definitely feel like I'm on that elevator, and yeah, that's like some sort of step way above me. But also like in this, so like I guess to make it more like what could happen now, because that's not going to happen, maybe not just based on my efforts, but right, I mean they do have some live stream stuff going on, so I could try and do that. But like what I'm kind of focusing on more right now is just my production quality and my ability to get like a following with MR.ATWOOD, with Quiet Hours, with David.ATWOOD, with whatever it is. I know that that's like just another way that you can like get your stuff out there. With Quiet Hours in particular, I know that the whole team's idea is to like travel to festivals, like travel around the country, going to festivals, doing silent discos. Like the Renegade sets at like, you know, some festivals. I've been to Camp Bisco. They had a Renegade set, which was just silent disco, and it was like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m., whatever it was. And so I think that's like, you know, there's always like what we think is the peak, and then there's probably more, but I think that would, those two things, like within my personal stuff and with Quiet Hours, those are like our sites kind of.
And you just repeat the first one because it was a little muddled, like just the clear
Yeah.
goal of you want to play a set at this venue.
Yeah, so right, the actual like obtainable goal would be to just play, yeah, to have like either an opening set or a headlining set at a venue in Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you're talking about the, you know, the silent disco at festivals, and down here in Austin, that happens all the time. You know, Utopia Fest, Utopia, haha. Yes, badass, awesome festival, and also a tie-in associative name So Utopia Fest, Art Scene Alliance had like Art Outside. There was silent disco at all of these, and I think even in Vision over in Costa Rica and all that. It's a common. So yeah, do it.
Sweet. Yeah, that one with having 3 other people on our team feels like much more obtainable. Attainable. And yeah, but like I've definitely had a lot of support with my Mr. Atwood stuff as well, just from Omegans and previous networking too, which is cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would just be
it's
curious to see, I don't know, like where you're at with those goals, you know, a year, 2 years from now, because yeah, like at least for me, like I genuinely love painting and making art and drawing, and it's it's shown me like in a short period of time that it's just life is wild, dude. And some of these things that like if you think you can't do it, then you can't. But if you think you can, some ridiculous shit can happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was what the idea was, me moving here. And so I was here for 3 months, and then we went remote, like everything went remote and stuff. So but I know that's not the one thing that's like stopping me. You're definitely correct in like, you know, it's usually always an internal experience of like, well, I can't do that, or it's not gonna happen right now, but it's not always the truth.
Well, sooner's better than later, I guess. You know, sometimes life is quick, you know, not to bring a little too much of a morbid twist to anything, but rest in peace, Rupert Neve. He died last night. So rest in peace, Rupert. So, you know, that's maybe a little bit of motivation no matter what. Like, time is time. Whatever kind of time dilation anybody experiences and differences of such, time is still time. And you've got some. So now's a good time.
That's true.
At all times.
I hope that I didn't feel like too like big bro on you or anything like that. I just
Not at all.
I mean, like I was just thinking about that, and even when we started the call, like, you know, I was thinking about the first time I met David Atwood in New York, you know, and it was just like there was a lot in there that I was like, that's probably what I was. It was definitely what I was doing at the same time, you know, and it was just kind of like it lit me up a little bit. Like, hell yeah, someone's still throwing down the dubstep sets. Like, that's sick. Like, you know, you just, I think as you age, you get to look back on all these different parts of your life that you thought you'd always be this way, and you get to see it like evolve and change. And then you get to see somebody that's like on their own path, but they're walking through similar neighborhoods, or they're going down similar, making similar decisions, or representing similar archetypes, and you're like, it's just really cool to see, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, over the past, I guess, like 7 to 10 years, you know, throughout like my college career and after, like I've like 2 of my friends and people that I lived with one of them in college and stuff. They're actually both doing really well in the like electronic music scene. One of them has his own record label, and he's like in Michigan, I think, but he was doing some stuff in New York. And then my other friend is in like North Jersey doing some stuff in Brooklyn and in Jersey. And like just seeing them has been a huge motivation. But I haven't really like reached out to them for any sort of support either. So that's definitely an avenue that I haven't really touched too much.
that seems to be a big thing, is like definitely learning. I feel like one thing that's sort of held me back is not communicating as much with other, or getting in collaboration with other music producers in a similar way. And I think in some ways that is one of the hardest things, you know, is finding people who are as committed as you and are in the same direction as you, like, you may be wanting to do stuff that's more heady, and this guy's like, I want to do stuff that's more noisy or whatever, and trying to find that balance. But I do think that a lot, you see it all the time, like the people who get really big, it's like a team effort. And it's because they're bouncing ideas off of other people, and even if you don't do any overt like collaborations, there's still something there, even if it's just like, yo, can I send you some tracks and just give me some feedback or whatever, just trading back and forth. It's super helpful because like, you double your experience. It's like I have my experiences and then you have yours, and it's like you might have learned some shit that I'm stuck on, and I might have learned some shit that you're stuck on, and just by trading conversations, it's like, oh, okay, cool, you helped me break my mental block and taught me a little trick. That's the thing, is like I know a lot about Ableton, but I'm still fascinated when I sit down with someone and see their Ableton. I love seeing other people's Ableton setups, because it's like, you do it that way, interesting. That's why do you do it that way?
Right.
Oh, that's so good to me. That's so good to me. I love that setup stuff. For whatever reason.
We should do an Ableton deep dive, the metaphysics of Ableton. I'm curious though. I want to kind of take this into another realm, because we do talk about crypto a lot. I'm curious what we can just kind of talk about that, and maybe possibilities for the music industry in crypto. And like, I'm curious, what are you knowledgeable? How knowledgeable are you about crypto and blockchain and stuff?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that like that's also what was like a huge thing that I was even like pulled into to watch Pirate Utopia also, which is awesome. But I'm not like super knowledgeable, I guess. Like I have learned a lot from watching Pirate Utopia. My brother has a little bit more time than me to like do some research, so he's been like feeding me a lot of stuff. But I, I was like aware of it in 2017. I think that was when the first thing went off. And so I bought some in 2018 and then sold it in 2018, and so made the rookie mistakes, I guess. But I know that it's so much more intricate. It's so much more like complex, and I don't want to say complicated, but like, yeah, just like intricate in so many ways. And that's what I've been learning about a little bit more now. But yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna get pretty crazy. I think
I'm just so blown away by it. Like, you see a lot on YouTube of people bitching about like Spotify, and there's some valid reasons, and there's some, Spotify's not entirely evil and all of this stuff, but like all of the ills of the record industry, I think could be like addressed potentially with crypto and decentralizing these music platforms. Right now there are a handful of like music similar, I guess, to like Spotify or like SoundCloud, but decentralized SoundCloud. And I don't think they'll get the same mass adoption because SoundCloud already has the user base. But what people really want is they want to be on the Spotify. I want to see my shit on the same platform that Skrillex is on or whatever. Like that kind
same
of
elevator.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't, these big DJs or whatever. I mean, maybe you want to be on the smaller one, but I think that's what's ultimately killing things like SoundCloud or some of the smaller platforms, is just that they don't have everybody. And so it's figuring out a way too to make it so that you can be compensated for the reach. Like I think there's a guy I've been really into called, his name is Ben Jordan. He makes music under the name The Flashbulb, and he has a whole cool video about how he's like, I get like 7 million plays a month. He's just breaks down his like thing, and he's like, I get 7 million listeners or plays or something a month, and he only makes $20,000. And it's like, that's the same as working at like McDonald's or like Walmart. And it's kind of weird because to get 7 million plays and stuff, you don't just it takes a lot more skill and emotional labor and effort to get to a point where it's like that. And you might be having a lot of like extreme value for people. You know, when they're sad and they can't, you know, they're, you know, maybe they're suicidal, they listen to your song, or they, you know, they want to celebrate, and this is they put your song on to celebrate, you know, their most happiest moments. And it's like the compensation for that does not equal out. But I think there are different potential models for how the music industry could be run, and music streaming, because I don't think music streaming is going anywhere. But like, if figuring out another way and another kind of ecosystem where people get paid more fairly for the emotional labor that they do, or that, yeah, for the labor that they do. So yeah, I mean, it's super exciting, I think, for digital artists right now. And yeah, I think you're on the road there. I mean, for one, I don't know, have you ever heard of Blau? Or I think that's how his name is spelled. I reference him a lot.
Yeah.
Have you heard of him? Yeah, he's big. He's the one who sort of like opened my eyes to the NFTs. I don't really listen to his music at all, but like
big ups to Blau.
Yeah, big ups to Blau. He's still cool. I mean, his music's cool, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's on Anjuna Deep or something. He makes kind of like house
Yeah.
music or something. But yeah, I mean, just the idea of like he started making these non-fungible tokens, which is essentially, it's like taking your digital art and turning it into something like a physical painting. Like, there can only be one physical painting. You know, you can make prints or whatever, but like there's only one. And if you can verify that that's the one, you know, it can be sold for however much because it's scarce. And so you could do that with digital art. So you can take a song that you made and there's only 50 certified digital copies of this song.
Whoa.
You know, and you can sell those. So it's like, as a thing, like once you get more fans, you know, and people are really hyping your shit, you can be like, so yeah, here's my new single, there's only going to be 50 digital ones, and you can do whatever you want. You know, people could maybe trade them or stream them on Spotify or something. But if someone really, like a super fan or something, really wants your music, it's like, oh, I'm gonna pay $100 to be the owner of that NFT, you know, to be the owner of one of the 50 digital copies of that song or whatever, you know, music video or all sorts of things. So that's just another way that you can create excitement in your merch, because you know, at the end of the day, like, the business model for musicians, you're basically a t-shirt company. You know, you're like, I make music so that people think it's cool to buy a t-shirt with my brand name on it, you know?
Right.
Well, album sales are out, so t-shirts are in.
Yeah.
And tickets are now out, you know, ticket sales, that's where I went to, Peter.
So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of models, you know, it's like subscription-based models where like coming up with like a non-centralized Patreon too. Like, you can already do that on Brave browser. I was doing that for Mr. Bill for a while, like, because I wasn't paying his monthly, you know, subscription for his videos anymore, but I was like, I'll give him some BAT, you know, so I gave him like 10 BAT a month, you know, for a while.
Yeah, Dave, do you use Brave browser?
My friend's been using it. He's been telling me about these things for a while. I just have been like, I like my Chrome. It saves everything for me.
Dude, Brave browser is built on Chrome.
Brave,
really?
You don't have to lose any of your Chrome. Yeah.
It's decentralized and it doesn't share your information to Google, and they pay you in a cryptocurrency to use it.
What? All right, I'm doing
That's
that
what I'm
today,
saying.
then.
I mean, like, I've been screaming about crypto for like 6 years, and it's to the point where my vocal cords are sore, and it's like Bitcoin's worth $50,000, and people are like, nah, I'll use Chrome. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? They're paying you to use something different, and you're like, nah, I'll just watch ads and get advertisements. So that's what I mean. We live in the country where it's like somebody made millions of dollars off selling the pet rock. So it's like, we gotta like remember that's where our crew is at, and we have to meet them where
one of those.
at. You know, it's like, not everybody is like up to speed or like, you know, even willing to try something different, but we have to be patient with those people and be like, hey, no, seriously, this matters. And like, this is why I got so like fired up again about crypto, as I was starting to get a little like turned off. Recently, there was a lot of questions that I didn't really know how to handle. There was a lot of money going through my hands and people saying they were making money, which I was like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. How's he making money? All making me feel really weird, you know? And then just recently, like, I got back in touch with somebody that I know that has been developing, like, serious developing decentralized apps for Ethereum, and like he reminded me of like the kind of like the fundamentals of the space. And it's like, it's not about being rich, and it's not about being like a white dude who's into Bitcoin. It's like, it's actually about disrupting all of these like systems that are set up in our society, right? And it's like, it didn't actually hit me until it's still sinking in, but it's like, I have so many, there's a handful of my friends that are like die-hard Bernie Sanders supporters, right? I love Bernie Sanders too, but like, I'm not die-hard. I'm genuinely not. I'm like, I just don't feel that fired up about it. I have people that are like Black Lives Matter. That's like, they're protesting, they're fucking smashing windows, they're against the cops. And I'm like, okay, I back that, I guess, but like, I'm still not like fired up like that. You know, there's people challenging like gay rights, gender inequalities, binary gender systems that are intentionally set up to like make us confused and divided and not explore different aspects of ourselves. So it's like, all of a sudden I was like, oh, like my fight, you can't fight all these battles. It's like, you pick your battle. And my fight is like in the finance game, and how money has like just enslaved our planet since they allowed central banks to take over. It's like, that shit gets me fucking fired up. And so like, getting back into it and talking with Corey, like, you know, earlier this year I was managing other people's money. I was making money off their money, and it was like, it felt like money, but it didn't feel like Bitcoin. It didn't feel like the actual reason why I'm fired up about it. So like, checking back in with him, I was just like, you're right. I don't want to charge anybody for this. I want to share why I think it's important. I don't want to tell anybody to buy this or not, but just to represent it as if I'm fighting one of those other fights that I see all my other friends fighting. That it's like, I'm stoked on somebody going out to protest or represent Bernie. I think it's great, but like, I can't really get into that shit unless I really feel it. In this, I'm like, oh, this is my zone right here.
Well, and it's like crypto, like it benefits those movements. Any movement that is like with underrepresented people or disenfranchised people, like crypto has the possibility to allow them to gain power. I mean, you saw it like this GameStop thing is just the tip of the iceberg of what is possible. And any industry, you know, any industry where people are worried about things, it's like, well, we just need to get rid of this, like, you know, like the institutional racism argument, you know, and a lot of things like that. It's like, by automating
Almost
cryptocurrency,
Right.
but like using some sort of blockchain verification in there, like, would allow people to I mean, to make decisions without identity even coming into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's the algorithms, it's the code that decides. It's not, you know, Joe Schmo up there deciding, you're like, well, I don't know, this guy has a black sounding name, he's probably not, you know, well, and then we're gonna hire the guy with the white name. It's like, none of that even comes in, because the computer doesn't care what your name is or where your name came from or what your race is. It just cares about other things. So it's like, all of these people, like, the ways to get to where you want to go, it's like in your favor to decentralize them. And it's all about money at the end of the day. It's where does the money flow, you know? And so, yeah, I think it's restructuring the organization of our money is the first step in making our more equitable society that we feel like we can participate in, you know, democratizing it. Use the buzzword. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we're kind of just me and Jesse are just like so gung-ho about this shit. We get fired up, and then I drink caffeine, and then
No, I mean, it's because you actually answered like my first question. Like, I actually wrote a little bit of notes, but like, I didn't even know what NFT was, but that was like the first thing that you answered. So I'm loving just like hearing more about this stuff. And like, what I feel like Bitcoin is in some way, it's like, you know, when people like went to California and like started what that's called, like sifting for gold and stuff, and you know, like that is what was the beginning of like mining. So this is just like the next yeah, panning, right. So this is just like the next step. Like this is not something that's abnormal. Like we're just witnessing the next thing. And like that was like this immense amount of gold in California, and now it's just this thing that's on the internet, and it's changing the internet too. But yeah, so it's definitely interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
this
just
is the
want to change the approach instead of like saying that everybody has to do anything about it, and just like reiterating that this is, and it's another social construct fight, or it's a way to
Mm.
say, hey, we just like any of the racism or any of the other topics that we're talking about. It's like I want to I want to make sure I'm taking steps in going in that right direction, and this is another arena that is happening. I mean, if you look at astrologically, the people saying that the Aquarian age and like all these things, but you start to look around and you're like, kind of all of these things are crumbling. Like, holy shit, it's really happening if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if what you're really like. Yeah, one example of that I guess that's like reminding me of is, and you can like correct me because I'm not totally just knowledgeable about this yet, but like Stellar and uh whoever makes that, or if is that the token? I don't know if it matters, but
XLM coin or
yeah,
stellar lumens, yeah.
like I know that their big thing, at least I'm pretty sure, is that they're really focusing on like uh making it easy to send funds like across like to foreign places, so it's really helping people who are not you know living next to their family, which yeah, a lot of like white males kind of just have that given to them, or it's just like an easier thing, and just white people in America in general, I think. But uh even if someone was not in a great space in America and needed to move somewhere else, and then yeah, if they need to send money back home, I think that's like, at least somehow I'm interpreting what you're kind of saying, where it's just like this is fighting against like all the terrible shit that's built in right now, making it so difficult for people to just send money to their family, or make money easily in a different country or something.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
any centralized system, uh, it just accentuates somebody's power so high
Mm.
up and puts everybody else so far down, and it's just becoming obvious to try something different. And this is more based on like a majority of people, like kind of like a democratic financial system where it's like the GameStop thing is a good example. Like that hedge fund was out nearly $30 billion, and like you can short Bitcoin, you can use the market just like you can the stock market. But let's say you got liquidated on a leveraged short position like that hedge fund, they still operate in New York. And all they did was call JP Morgan Chase, and they're like, yo, can we get like 30 bill really quick to bail them out, because, of all these other companies that would go under if they, all this crap. But it's like, if you play that way in Bitcoin and lose, there's nobody to call to like get your $30 billion worth of Bitcoin back. And it just keeps it like a more honest system.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because even though they lost 30 billion, like they should have lost even more. They should, like they pulled the plug then. Like,
Right.
Volatility.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's just like I think, especially with the finance, and it's just the area that I just keep coming back to all these people fighting these other fights. It's like, because so many of my friends are like, no, seriously, you need to understand this. This is how you can improve and support people of color, and start making moves to act and be more racially sensitive. And there's same things, I think, in finance goes, where it's like most people don't think about it. They go to the bank, their card works, but that's the middleman, and it's actually super unnecessary at this point. The technology's there, and to say that you can then become your own bank, it's amazing, because then you're the one you're making money on your money just sitting there, and that's what banks do to everybody.
I mean, I could just from experience, I used to live like 2 miles further away from Manhattan, and then I moved like a mile closer to Manhattan, and now I'm a mile closer than I was before. So even in those moves, the amount of like check cashing places, like those places that make money on other people who just need to get their own money.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's so many of those places, and those are definitely more in the areas that are further from Manhattan, which do tend to be not as, just the socioeconomic, um, whatever that's really called. There, there's, yeah. And then, where I am now, and then even closer, like Williamsburg, you're not going to see any of that stuff. Like there's like, the big grocery stores and like the things that are still taking your money, but those people are just like, like willing to spend money on that stuff. But yeah, I mean, if we could help people that are in poverty who are already spending time and money to lose their money, like they get paid. I don't know why there's like check cashing things, like what that's all about, but like
It's predatory lending. That's
Mm.
it's the way that they get people to become wage slaves, because it's like, I can't wait till Friday, I have to buy groceries. So you go out and you get an advance, and
Mm.
then you pay some stupid insane interest on it, and then like now in order to pay that, so now you're actually like you're 2-3 paychecks behind, because you're paying those guys off, and you're paying, you got a million things. But you're right, it's like they don't have that shit in the fancy neighborhoods, they have that in the poor neighborhoods, so that they
Right.
can keep these poor people constantly in debt. And and like when you move to a system where you can't just print money, you can't so there's a restriction on the amount of debt that you can create. That's why we stopped the gold standard, because we realized that the United States didn't have enough gold to pay back all the debts that we had. Like, because there used to be a policy where, like, the dollar is backed by gold. So if any country wants, they can take all of their dollars and give them back to the Federal Reserve and exchange them for gold. And eventually we did that and gave away all our gold, and then we still had debt. So we're like, we're going to switch, and now there's no gold, and it's money is just whatever we say it is. And so, like now they can just create, and that's how they dig themselves out of all the, holes that they put themselves in, like 2008 and stuff. It's like
Mm-hmm.
these companies that should crumble, and they don't, because we'll just just make a bunch of zeros appear in your bank, in your checking account or whatever, and it all goes away. But they only do that for small entities. They only do that for banks and stuff. They don't do that for average people like us. And so we bear all the brunt. We get all the inflation, and they get all the glory. So
Right.
yeah, it's a really messed up system. And I think the way, like, it's like the best way is to empower. Like, what's really exciting is that up until now, like capital, or what's the word, compound interest, has only been a thing that a small minority of people can take advantage of. And now it's a thing. But like the thing is, we all contribute to it. We all help by spending our money and interacting and doing things. We create compound interest, but only a few people get to benefit. Now with crypto, that benefit goes to all of us. Like, you probably have a savings account somewhere where you put some money just in case, who knows? I'm not trying to dig too deep, but like, that's the responsible thing, right? Is take some money and save it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, you put it in a bank account, maybe you'll get like 0.4%, like 0.8%. If you find a really good one, you can get up to 1% interest a year on that, which is like, whoa,
Almost one.
yeah, like that's so dope. But like you could do that in crypto now and put your thing. And while it is a little more volatile right now and it's a bit riskier, the rewards are like so much greater. You can get like not only 5% to like even 12, 15, 16%, maybe even more depending on where you put that. But that's just compound interest on it. But then again, you're also not getting the inflation that your dollars get. So it's like, Jesse brings this up, like the Federal Reserve has a built-in 3% inflation. They're trying to make the US dollar inflate by 3% every year. And so it's like your money is losing value by just sitting in there. Like you get a bit of an offset with that 1%, but it's like, and every financial book will tell you this, like you should be investing as much as you can, you know.
Mhm.
So it's just like putting it in a place like that, you can be investing not just in like random companies or index funds. It's like you can pick an interesting project, and by putting your money there, it's like, I think we had this conversation the other day. It's like it's a usable thing. Like money as it is now is not really usable for anything but a store of value. But when you put your money, say
Right.
you get a bunch of Ether or one of these other coins and you stake it, you are actually contributing. You're doing work. You're helping the system work by
Mhm.
putting your Ethereum and staking it. You are making it more, making it so that more people can use Ethereum more efficiently.
Right.
So it's only right that you should get a part of that. You should get paid
Yeah.
for that. And it's the thing is that there's no barrier to entry. Like you don't have to have $1 million or $500,000 to do this, to get invested or anything. You can have just $500, you know, $100, whatever. Throw it into some crypto, stake it, and just leave it alone, and it'll just accrue interest for you whenever you want. And that's really the beauty of it, is that we can all do it. You know, no,
Right.
no, you don't need to be special. Like anyone can do it, and that's, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I have been looking into. I have like a extra computer over there. I know that like there's also like the whole node thing with Ethereum. Like there's that idea. I'm not too like, I haven't done my research on staking, but that is something I also want to get into. And I'm hoping or assuming that we're going to be getting this 1400 this year. And I think that that's like definitely one of those things that a lot of Americans are going to be doing something similar to GameStop or hopefully crypto, then yeah. But
I think everyone's waiting. As soon as that hits, I think we're going to see a huge explosion, even more so than what we have. A lot of people in the space are speculating that any kind of stimulus is going to just drive the price of a lot of these coins in. So, I mean, I would say, no, you know, I don't know, but it seems like Ethereum would be the safest bet. I'm not well versed enough to be like, you know, I would probably refer people to other people in the space who are more experts. But, you know, if anyone does ask me, Jesse would be better. But like Ethereum is the safest bet. That's where currently most of my money is, because I'm still figuring it out. But yeah, be careful. But like I think it is you're right. Like I'm planning on doing that, like taking as much of that as I can and putting it into crypto and helping out some of the projects that I think are so cool, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Keep that in mind, you guys. Like, if we're all on this call now saying, "Hey, we're all going to take our $1,400 and put it into Bitcoin," like, do you think the institutions know that? Fuck yeah, they do. So it's like, it's good to get that 1,400. Know you're going to invest it, but wait for a dip. Wait for that moment where it's like Bitcoin's going to zero. That's when you buy. Like, it's great to ride up some quick cash, but like, if you really want to maximize your return on that, you know, look for a dip, put it aside, put it in USD coin. You can get like 12% on staking USD coin. And
yeah,
it's like 9% gain right there, right?
yeah, and you lose no value. It's tied to the value of the dollar. So it's like you can get a stable coin and have your money in crypto, and it still builds it up. You know, it still is better than holding dollars, you know,
Wow.
for those reasons.
Aye.
So,
So
yeah.
dollars are dirty too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Is
'cause,
there
like, the real, even if you got, let's say you bought it the day your stimulus comes out and Bitcoin was at $50,000 and a week later it went up to 60,000, so you made 20% on your 1,400. That's killer. And a lot of people will be like, that's 20% of 1,400, whatever that is, a few $100 I didn't have, I'm happy. But like the real value is like 4 years from now we'll be in again a crypto bull cycle. And you know, wherever this one tops out, 100,000, 500,000, it'll top out, it'll probably retrace a good 33, 40%, come back, you know. But 4 years later, it's just going to explode. So it's like, if you're able to put that away and not touch it like a true investment or like a true IRA account where you can't get your money without, you know, paying a ridiculous fee, that's really what can benefit us long term. but at the same time, it's super hard to like get somebody to understand it because I don't understand how they learn and the way that like we, at least Aaron and I, and we had Mike on the call, I think, like we just set them up with like a little bit of ETH, and then they started watching it change in value. And I talked to Mike today, and I think it was like $10 or something. He's like, "That's $40 now."
Yeah.
And it's just like so he can see how fast
good.
moves, and there's opportunities to just keep stuff, hold it for years and years, or make quick trades. I mean, it's all what you're after.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research into like the penny stocks. I mean, that's kind of what my brother like was telling me about as well. And a lot of those are doing pretty well right now. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how the long term is for those. But
well, like Coinbase has a Coinbase Earn option. Have you done that? Because I think it's easily upwards of $100 to get just by clicking some videos on there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I have done that.
The other thing is honestly Brave, and I mean, you literally can use your Chrome stuff, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not, it's
all
not like,
your plugins, everything transfers over like that. Like
right,
everything
cool.
that you have, all your extensions, all your bookmarks, it's just straight over. I don't. Everyone loves Chrome. It's like it's built on Chrome. It's crypto Chrome. You know.
and there's no
Cryptochrome.
ads. There's literally no ads on YouTube.
No ads.
It's awesome. But
I
like,
use
And BAT
that's
is worth something now. Like BAT's actually
Wow.
worth like it's like 40 cents now. It's like real money.
yeah, like I've been using it on this machine for like 3 or 4 months, and it's like there's like $30 of BAT in there. And what's cool, Dave, is like you're not. The idea is that token is like when you see a creator, like let's say you like Pirate Utopia, and you have some BAT on our YouTube channel, you could be like, I'm gonna tip them in BAT. So like we could technically cash out BAT that we get tipped. But the way it works is we're supposed to spend it on creators. But if we were like, oh, here's Dave's channel, and here's the option to tip, I'd be like, fuck yeah, take it, And then like it's like a way to send. Here's a couple bucks with a like, or like here's a 50 cents worth of like,
right.
like monetizing that we like this content.
Right. Instead of just leaving it up to like YouTube to be like, okay, yeah, we'll pay them, a millionth of a cent for that like or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a
crazy.
denomination. That's crazy. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about like which advertisements are being shown, because you see that sometimes where it's like I'm watching some heady spiritual video and like before it's like Clorox bleach or something, some garbage company like buy this, and it's like totally not aligned with the values.
Yeah.
Ideally, the way that Brave would work is that it personalizes ads specific to you. So like, because it's not about like the ads glomming on to my content necessarily. If you're watching it or whatever, it's, based on your preferences and what you're interested in, you get ads that apply to you without the advertisers even knowing any of your personal data. It's all separate. It takes your data and it's encrypted. And then it says, oh, this user likes, he likes this kind of, he's looking up, musical equipment. So if I'm, making modules or plugins, I'll like be, well, send my thing to him. And then you get paid for viewing the ad for some cool plugin that maybe you're interested in, and then like, but you get money, and whether you buy it or not, just for viewing the ad. And then you can use that to pay content creators that you like, So it's a better system all around.
Yeah, right now I use uBlock Origin, which does block stuff, but I also know that like, I mean, the companies that I want to support, I'm okay to like look at their ads, I mean, I do get like now like Waves audio or like SSL stuff, which I'm happy to watch their ads and see what's going on. But you're right, like sometimes there is just some other ones for like a Ford F-150, and I'm like, I don't ever want to drive ever in my whole life again. So why would I want to see that? No, I mean, I wish, I mean, I'm just going to say it here, but I wish my friend told me that it was built on Chrome. Maybe I didn't ask him, or that information just didn't totally make it to me. Maybe also because I was just like, man, okay, I like my Chrome. But no, I mean, I'm definitely moving to Brave then, and just like hearing everyone talk about it as well, even if it didn't bring over all my tabs and bookmarks and stuff, I could reset that up. So, but just knowing that it is built on something that's already stable and updating and stuff, that does make me feel a little better, I guess.
Ooh, is Brave mobile too, or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on the
Yeah.
phone. I need to switch over. I keep forgetting. I have Firefox on my phone,
Nice.
but yeah, no, Brave is definitely one of the coolest projects out there in terms of like where like the potential for crypto, because you can imagine a social media network built on, and you know, people are working on it. Like, it's just about getting that critical mass, but you can
Mm.
imagine instead of Facebook or Instagram, you know, like you have some version where the likes that you get and building an audience, you know, like I think there's a thing in, yeah, and it's not a one-to-one, but like you see it a lot in crypto where it's like 1 million likes is worth 1 million likes, but or 1 million followers is worth 1 million followers, but 1 million of bat is worth money. You know,
Mhm.
it's like actually it's
That's real.
tangible, and people are working on social networks where it's like, for the work you do by posting and liking and commenting and creating a better environment and a cooler place for people to hang out online,
Yeah.
you get paid, which you should, you know. And there's a bunch of, like, we could go on all day about some of the really most interesting projects out there, and you know, maybe we will, you know, in the future. But like, yeah, that's what's so exciting. And creating like you could think of a Spotify too,
Hmm.
you know, that
Right.
works on the same Brave model, where it's like, if I got a new album out, I'm gonna be like, well, okay, who's into this genre? Like, for you, if you're coming out with a new album, you're like, I want to hit up the people who are into, like, you know, dubstep, maybe some of the artists that you think your sound is similar to,
Hmm.
and you would, like, in your marketing budget, you pay to market towards people who are into that stuff. And it's like, if I'm, you know, if I'm into that, I'm gonna be like, oh, I'll take, you know, a small portion just to say like, oh, let me check out this new single by this artist I've never heard of. And you know, 90%, you know, maybe 80% of the time, it's going to be music that you're not really going to dig or enjoy. But every now and then, you're going to be like, oh, this is actually really cool. Kind of just the same way as advertising. You know, most of the time, you're not going to buy what they're advertising. But every now and then, you do see something. You're like, oh, I want to buy that. You know, I'm so
Hmm.
glad that that showed up. And the same thing could work with music. And so by viewing music ads, I can actually offset the cost of paying for this music service or whatever, you know. And so there's a whole, you know, million ways it could end up working out, but that just seems like so much of a better way than like a handful of labels, you know, making all the money, and all the artists who are the reason why anyone pays for fucking Spotify in the first place, you know, like they get nothing. And you know, they get the tiny fractions of a cent. And it's like, you know, so it's just about getting the awareness to switch over. And then once that happens, it's going to be like, all artists are going to be, I would rather put my music on this platform because I'll actually get paid for it, you
Right.
know.
I mean, it reminds me of like what you were saying earlier about someone, like, I guess I don't know the term of that, but like, you know, making their song an NFT, or like, you know, making maybe like only selling like 50 versions of that original. Or like the other side of it that you just made me like realize is that people who are listening to my music, or your music, or anyone's music, um and so like people that don't have a lot of money, they may just be able to like listen to the song, and like Spotify will pay the artist because they can't really afford it. But yeah, so like they can afford a little bit more with bat or some of the crypto. But right, someone with who's like, if Ill Gates listens to your song and he's got some money, he might just be like, oh, I'll give, you know, $10 or $10,000, which we are seeing that on Twitch and Patreon, where people are just like playing, and all of a sudden they get 25 grand because someone has money, and people like to spend their money when they have money. So it allows for that too, where like, right, it's not just Spotify who's paying me as an artist. It's like, you know, Mr. Johnson, who lives in a penthouse in Manhattan, might like my dubstep and is willing to pay me like $10,000 for a listen.
Yeah.
That manifests that kind of stuff, but we'll see.
It's totally true. I mean, you get super fans. Like, a
Yeah.
small percentage of your fans will love, like, you know, so, like, your song saves someone's life
Mm.
potentially, you know. And it's like, I want to, you know, like, I want to compensate someone. Think about your favorite artist and just being like, man, the amount of like enjoyment and value that this artist has given me, just in terms of like how their songs have helped me through tough parts of my life. Like, you know what? I can afford it now. Like I just got a good paycheck. I'm going to give them $100. You know,
Right.
I'm going to buy the fancy merch. I'm going to buy their NFT. I'm going to go, you know, pay for the VIP ticket, all of that shit, you know? And it's like, in a way, it's like what Bandcamp does, but extending it and connecting artists to it takes out all these middlemen who are just skimming money off the top. And it's like, you know, this is an intimate connection between an artist and their audience. And it's like all these people getting in the way of it. And it's like, we don't need that anymore. Like, we don't need your fucking middlemen. Like, why don't y'all go out and make some art now? Like, let's have more artists and more audiences and connecting, you know? And yeah, and being able to participate, being like with Bat, it's like, maybe I don't have an extra $10 or whatever that I can just throw at all the artists that I think are doing amazing work. But if I just take the money that I'm getting from just skimming you know, the internet and viewing ads, and then I just allocate that to the people who I'm viewing, and it's like, you know, like like now I go from being poor and unable to support the artists I love to I get a free resource that I can just, I mean, it's not free, but like it's because of the work I'm already doing. And that's the thing, we don't realize that the work, or that what we do on the internet is work. Like we are making it's like, you know, when you show up to the party, like you're adding to the vibe of the party, you know, so you're, in a way, you're kind of doing work for the party, you know, by making it a cooler place, because if you're there, then your friends will want to be there, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it's like, to a certain degree, the internet's just like that, and it's learning to find ways to capitalize on that, you know.
Yo, there's obviously so much here that we're gonna have to really spend some time on crypto with season 2, and like making sure that we're like being really clear and being like, this is not financial advice. There's ways to get it paid, basically get paid in crypto for free. Just start building a relationship with it, because as I'm saying, it's like as important as us being awareness about the racism in our country, about people and how sensitive they are about when they're, you know, transitioning their gender and people are not being supportive. It's like, this is just as important, where it's like, if you don't get it, like, you're missing something here. This is a big deal. But I do kind of want to like rein it in a little bit, and just kind of wrap it, because we're getting a little bit long on this episode. Is there any like shout outs or any like upcoming things you wanted to touch on before we call it a wrap, Dave?
Yeah, I guess I want to, if I can give like a shout out to the Quiet Hours Twitch. We're trying to grow our community on there, and really, again, that is just to like connect more people that are like trying to find a dance community, whether they're at home right now or eventually in the Hudson Valley. Twitch has been an amazing resource for us, just because it allows us to play like all the music and doesn't mute us during the live event. It does mute the thing afterwards, but that's just why we want everyone to go to Twitch and follow us there. So anyone who is watching this now or you know, afterwards, if you want to go ahead and follow Quiet Hours NY on Twitch, that would be awesome. And of course, if you want to give me a follow and a like, Mr. Atwood Music, or Mr. Atwood on like most platforms, all the, you know, Spotify and Apple Music.
We'll post the link if you have one of the single you dropped last year.
Cool, definitely, yeah. But otherwise, I also wanted to thank you for having me on the show. I went to do that in the beginning, but no, this was awesome. It was really great meeting you, Chris and Aaron, and reconnecting with you, Jesse. So this was really fun. Yeah.
Dude, awesome episode, Dave, and I hope that you'll make an appearance in our next season too.
Yeah, let us know if you got new shit dropping. Yeah, we're always down to rep the homies.
Sweet.
So
yeah, I'm gonna keep sharing your guys' stuff. I mean, this is awesome to get out there, and like I said, I've been learning a lot just from watching these. So yeah, I'm doing my own due diligence as well. But yeah, I love that you're really trying to create like the clearer message behind it as well. It's really nice.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Dude, rock and roll. This is awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We love you.
We love you.
Thanks for watching Pirate Utopia.